We're going to get into the Smoak Stack right now. Anyhow, we'll dive into this because we're just talking about it. But the House versus NCAA settlement is in danger. In a hearing, NCAA counsel suggested it may be unwilling to change language that limits booster pay to athletes. And a school president told Yahoo Sports, there's no reason to settle under these circumstances. Go to trial. And here's the statement on the judge's request. The settlement agreement and the NCAA and autonomy conferences submitted to the court was the product of hard-fought negotiations that would bring stability and sustainability to college sports while maintaining an education-based model that equips hundreds of thousands of students every year with degrees and tools to succeed throughout their life. That continues to be our goal, and the NCAA and autonomy conferences will carefully consider the court's questions, which are not uncommon in the context of class action settlements. I cannot tell you how bad an idea it would be for them to go to trial. It would be a tremendously bad idea. It would bankrupt them if they lose. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they've agreed to settle means that they think that they're going to lose. And the NCAA never thinks they're going to lose, even though they lose all the time. So this is the first realization from them that, hey, we're probably not going to win this. And this is over language in which the NCAA and the schools can limit NIL collectives and they can approve or deny NIL deals over $600. Well, if you look at what's going on in Tennessee and Virginia with that injunction, what that injunction says is that you're not allowed to do that. And so that language lives in here, and Amanda Kristovich will talk about it later in much more detail, but basically they need to take this clause out and put in a very, very light version of it and move on. Otherwise, this thing's going to trial, and who knows what they're thinking and what they decide. But the power conferences are going to want, they really don't want this to get more expensive than it is.
Right.
And if it goes to trial, it almost certainly will, because there's absolutely very low odds that they would have a chance at winning.
What is there any way or any way compromise that you could see the NCAA doing to kind of nip this in the bud without taking it to court? Like, what do they need to put in place in order? Do they need to just say, athletes, if you have an opportunity that comes up to you to give you NIL money, we can't have anything to do with it. You're your own independent contractor per se, and you get whatever comes to you. And then cause this confuses me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. They just have to take the clause out.
Okay.
They just have to agree to a different thing. So, if that's the clause, there's some other little things in there, but the real issue hinges on this part of it about limiting the collectives. What the NCAA doesn't seem to understand is that, and I guess because they've operated outside of this for so long,
right?
But when it comes to the mart of competitive commerce, to quote "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," one of our great American movies,
a classic.
In the mart of competitive commerce, if I want to pay Emory for anything, as long as I do that within the laws of the Constitution of the United States and within the state and city and municipality I live in, as long as I'm adherent to all laws on the money changing hands, taxes, whatever, I can hire Emory to do anything. So if I'm a booster and I want Emory to come to FSU, and you tell me they're trying to tell me that it has to be for legitimate business purposes. Okay. But I'm the business owner.
Right.
So I can determine what legitimate business purposes are, as long as those are, again, within the law. It's not like I'm using Emory to launder money. What I'm going to do is Emory's going to be the face of my ad campaign. That would be considered legitimate. But if I want to pay him to show up at my office on Pizza Fridays and take 5 pictures, and that's it, then that's what I'm going to pay him for.
Right.
Is it stupid? Yeah.
But it's your money.
Stupid, but it's my money. And you cannot get in the, it's also Emory's money, and you're blocking him from from a financial opportunity.
Correct.
Which, as we've seen, it's funny. So we saw non-competes are now illegal for all of about like less than 1% of the population. I actually have a friend who it applies to, and I felt so bad for him. But I mean, but yeah, it's but like their non-competes are illegal. Why are non-competes illegal now? Because non-competes don't allow you to find gainful employment in something that you're skilled at.
Yeah, they screw you.
Yes, they're not really worth the paper they're printed on. And like I understand for like high level executives, there needs to be like a non-compete time because you're talking about trade secrets. So I get that. Like, but if you're a say news anchor and Channel 40 Eyewitness News, Ion Wisconsin doesn't want you anymore, and Ion Chicago does, then just because they might be, right there across the border in competitive stations doesn't mean you can't go to Ion Chicago or go across town to Milwaukee's Best News.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's
that seems like something that's legit up there.
Yeah, but you can't go to that one. So again, the NCAA just doesn't get it.
No, they
don't.
They
just don't get it in this regard, and they're trying so hard. But they need to, if they're going to move on with this and move on with the settlement and the financial terms that are set forth in the settlement that obviously the power conferences were comfortable with, because otherwise it wouldn't have been done anyway. If they're going to move on with this, then they absolutely 100% need to take it out and realize that's the L. This is the L you're going to take. It's a permanent loss. You're not going to get it back. That time is over. You cannot restrict athletes in how they're going to make money. And if I was one of their attorneys, be like, this particular clause, you even putting it in here is a trap for you to get back in court. As a matter of fact, me, 0 days of law school, 0 hours, 0 minutes. I've never set foot in a law school. I've watched a crap load of Matlock, but I've never been in law school. I saw that. I brought it up on the show.
You did.
To a couple of our expert guests. I said, this seems to me like the thing that'll hang it up. And all of them were like, yep, this is the thing that's going to hang it up. And what happened? Like clockwork, this thing hung it up because at the core of this is what it's about. So
I'm just intrigued to see, like, at this point, what other, like, how long is it going to take to form a new governing body that comes in and overtakes the NCAA, and how much of this is, or what's slowing it down is the financial burden that's going to ultimately be for them. Like, if they have to start picking up some of the payments that the NCAA were picking up, where does that money come from? And then does that hinder, like, if you're an SEC or the Big Ten, does that hinder your pay that you're getting, and does that kind of even the field a little bit with, I don't know, it's just kind of confusing. I'm interested to see where this goes with what the new future of college athletics is going to look like once this ultimately hits the fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I've got a lot going on today. I actually have to step back in and do high school football tonight.
Yeah.
And I just found that out like an hour ago.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of that tonight. By the way, Brett Brigham says I'm confusing NDAs and non-competes. No, I'm not. I'm saying that the reason I believe that non-competes for like high level people that have trade secrets are there is so you can't just immediately go over, because these negotiations take months and months and months and things like that happen. So you can't just go right over. So yes, that would be an NDA, but like they want some time so that you can, get out of the ecosystem for a minute before you jump back in and maybe know a bunch of things. Also, I think that's because when high level executives move from one place to another, you see that they want to take their team with them. So if you can keep them out of the water for 9 months, then you can keep some of those people that you wanted to keep, but ultimately, you're going to lose them. So that's part of it. So but thank you, Brett, for showing that I kind of overlapped it there. But yeah, this is just bad. I'm going to add something here, Garrett, that we don't have. It just came down. from Chris Vanini, the ACC this week claimed that FSU and Clemson missed their opportunity to push back against the league's contracts after approving them and accepting millions of dollars from them over the years in a legal response to the school's lawsuits. In its first clearly laid out defense of FSU and Clemson's lawsuit against the conference, they said that both schools missed their statute of limitations of 3 or 4 years, depending on the state. So they cited media articles, which is, I don't think really. And the second key point was Maryland's withdrawal in 2013. There was a 10-2 vote in the conference to increase the penalty in 2012. Was opposed by Maryland and Florida State, but supported by Clemson. However, all members except Maryland voted to approve the litigation against Maryland for the withdrawal and accepted payment from it. Therefore, the ACC claims FSU and Clemson can't have a problem with the same withdrawal penalty in process now. The withdrawal penalty is now around $140 million. The grant of rights is created obviously after Maryland's departure. So,
I gotta love the irony in that for Clemson. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like that kind of makes you wonder, like the Florida State kind of have an outlook on where things might ultimately end up going. And that's kind of why they took that side, would be the only one to side with Maryland in that. I mean, that's kind of intriguing if you really think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, look, I get it. Well, plus at the time in 2013, Florida State was kicking around the idea of maybe leaving the Big 12.
Because if Texas and Oklahoma would have left, right?
Yeah, or to get Texas and Oklahoma to stay. Now, I do think that it never got far down the road because I don't think Texas and Oklahoma wanted FSU, who just won.
Well, especially not at that time. No,
they didn't want the national champs coming in. Like that's not what they wanted. They absolutely would not have won. And then Oklahoma has beat them plenty of times, but Texas and FSU have never played. And
that's so weird.
I mean, I'll just tell you historically from about 1984 on, save for 2 years, Florida State's recruited better. So, I say for 2 years, more like not like that, but in that period, like between 2013, say for a couple years in that, Florida State was way better,
right?
So that's not the case holistically. I'm just talking about the Bowden Jimbo timeframe. You're talking about a 4-year stretch where you would consider Texas to be the better program overall in that period over Florida State. But yeah, it feels like even then Florida State,
they had an idea.
They had an idea. I think I'm wondering if, but see, here's where it falls to me, where the argument's going to be in that. So how, and I don't know how legally this is. So then you make this grant of rights and you have this. But then all these other things happen and change the landscape of college football. The ACC is going to argue, well, we did this to guard against that on our end. But couldn't they say, well, we didn't reasonably foresee this catastrophic
the
level.
ACC as a whole?
No, that FSU and Clemson can be well, look, this is the new world. We agreed to this a decade ago. This was the reality a decade ago.
Right.
But now
adapt with the times.
We like to be able to adapt with the times, and this restricts our ability to earn, I guess. I don't know. The thing is they all signed it.
Yep. Exactly. That's the problem.
All these arguments that FSU makes, everything FSU and Clemson can make all these legitimate arguments about all the things or issues they have with the contract. But at the end of it, even though all those people and both schools are gone now that made those decisions for the most part, they still signed it. It's still them. They made the agreement. So really what this is about is how much money are we going to agree upon so that this can end? And who knows how long that takes.
It's almost like the team's getting penalized after the fact.
If the starting line, if it's just the exit fee of $140 million, then I think they would be happy with that. I think the bigger thing is they are going to try to say, we'll give you the money for the exit fee. We'll come up with that, but we own our television rights. So when we pay the exit fee, the grant of rights, now we've paid the exit fee. You don't own our television rights in perpetuity because we've paid the exit
Correct.
fee.
Yeah, you bought out.
Yeah. So that's what I think the argument is. And maybe that gets negotiated down to less than 140 million. But if it starts at 140 million and then the ACC is like, it's 140 million plus these, year by year penalties that we're going to keep from you, that's where I think the negotiation will start as like, how about we give you all 140, but we don't pay any of this?
Right.
Or the number goes up from 140, but it doesn't go to 400 million. It goes to like 175, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is going to take, like, I'll put this in a nutshell. That story another way. ACC, FSU, Clemson's lawsuits will drag on for months, if not years. It will drag on. There's no quick solution in this. This isn't Texas and Oklahoma knowing that they had 2 years to leave, saying they were going to leave, and then dealing with it on the way out the door. This is a decade. Like,
it's a long game.
The ACC can be in this for as long as they can afford to be.
Yeah.
Like they can just keep. And the thing is, it's like, as long as the lawsuit goes, Florida State and Clemson will keep playing games and keep being on TV in the ACC. So what?
I mean, it's a win-win for them, the ACC.
It's ultimately a win-win because eventually they're going to leave. But the other part of it is like, you're going to have to, like, you're going to force Florida State and Clemson into a way of finding, that private equity money might start coming from some really shady places. I'm just telling you. Yeah. I know Pablo Escobar's not around anymore, but I'm sure he's got some relatives. All right. The Big 12 has released their tie-breaking procedures. Thanks to John Kurtz for putting this in a nice, tidy bow for us. The tied teams will be compared based on their head-to-head records during the season. B, the tied teams will be compared based on win percentage against all common conference opponents. This is probably a pretty important one because they're not going to have, nobody's going to have the same number of common conference opponents quite often. The tied teams will be compared based on win percentage against the next highest placed common opponent in the standings based on the record in all games played within the conference proceeding through the standings. D, the tied teams will be compared based on combined win percentage in conference games of conference opponents. E, the tied teams will be compared based on total number of wins in a 12-game season. So if one team is 10-2 and one team is 9-3, and the 9-3 team, one of those games lost, like that 10-2, lost the non-conference game, bummer. For example, if Arizona State winds up 9-3, which I'm not saying they will, but they lost to Mississippi State in this non-conference game, and Utah is 10-2, and their two losses are they also have two losses in the conference because they have that 10th win. They would go. They would go in over it. F, the representative will be chosen based on highest ranking by Sports Source Analytics team rating score metric following the last weekend of regular season games. And then G, coin toss.
That's all we need. We just need G. Let's just get to G. Just do a coin toss, skip all this crap, and just do it.
Well, I mean, the UIL in Texas high school has about a 3 level, I think, tiebreaker, and then it does go to coin toss because they have a whole lot to deal with.
Right.
So it's, I
just think that would be more entertaining.
I wonder how many other states do, like, the coaches will meet at a Whataburger or a Dairy Queen or a Cracker Barrel, and they will somewhere in the middle of the two schools, and they will have they used to do this. Now they have Zoom, so they'll have to, but they would just flip a coin. You saw it in Friday Night Lights. They flip a coin about home and away. They flip another coin about who's, where to play,
where the location, the refs, where do you want your refs from,
all that stuff. Yeah, it's chaotic. All right, let's go to this one, Garrett. We are big fans of retro uniforms and cool helmets, especially since we're partnering with Green Gridiron. Go to greengridiron.com. Use the link in the bio. That's just a quick plug for our good friends at Green Gridiron. You see the helmet still there behind me. There it is. Maybe I need to move my chair over so people can see that better throughout the show. There you go. The UNLV Running Rebs. Are they still the Running Rebs?
Yeah.
Okay. The Running Rebs will wear this throwback to their 1974 Division II team that reached the D2 semifinals. So I think it's a pretty cool helmet.
I'm the one in this room that disagrees. I'm the only one that doesn't like it. I don't know what it is about it. The UNLV probably just running around can be confusing for me. It looks like a flag, like something you would see, some kind of
like a
flag type thing. I mean, I get it. It's just, to me, it's not my vibe, but I'm the outlier here. Everybody else in this room enjoys these.
Yes, we do. Like Emery likes them. Jack likes them. Look, there's two kinds of people in the world, Garrett.
Right, wrong.
There's people like me who are right, and there's people like you who are wrong.
That's fair.
It's easy. I mean, look, it's easy. It's okay. We all fall into either category.
I'm not scared to be wrong, man.
No.
I'll be wrong.
You have your opinion. It's fine. But I would get a helmet from Green Gridiron like this and put it up here, mostly because it's different. Because when we did that with the Army and Navy and Air Force helmets, what I like is people come in and go, they have to play like a little guessing game.
They're like, what's that?
Yeah. No, and I still want to get the Jack Trice Ames one. I thought that's a smooth look to add to the set.